This conference will now be recorded.
So in the previous session, we have discussed about Lightning Web Components, and we have discussed what exactly are Lightning Web Components and what is the use, and how these are different from other components, and what are the drawbacks in ARA components, and what are the benefits that we have in Lightning Web Components we have discussed in the previous session. Now, whenever if we want to build any Lightning Web component, we require an environment. Like whenever if you want to build any of your Salesforce application, we are using a Salesforce organization type that is called as a Salesforce environment, or simply we are calling it as a Salesforce org. That Salesforce org may be either our developer edition or it may be a sandbox, where exactly we can log in into our org and then we can implement the features. It may be configuration, it may be customizations, whatever. And if you want to build your own Lightning components also, Lightning components means ARA components, straightforward. Whenever if you want to build these ARA components, then we are using developer console. Go to your Salesforce org and then go to the developer console, and through developer console, we can build our Lightning ARA components. Because developer console is sufficient to build ARA components, suffix classes, controllers, ARA applications, everything we can do. But whenever if you want to build the Lightning Web components, then we need a separate environment. We need a separate environment. This developer console will not support. Our free developer edition and our sandboxes won't support to build Lightning Web components directly inside that. We don't have any such options to build Lightning Web components. In order to build these Lightning Web components, we need a separate editor. So multiple ways are available. Okay, let me explain. And from that one, we'll use one efficient mechanism. Now, whenever if you want to develop your own Lightning Web components, whenever if you want to build any Lightning Web components, then we need an editor. Okay, we require an editor. That means it's like as a local environment. It's a local development environment where we can able to build that. Now, so now we can use an editor. As part of this editors, we have two editors are available which we can use. First one, we have VS Code editor. Second one, Sublime. Okay, Sublime editor. Two editors are available. Okay, VS Code. Second one, which is Sublime. See, when I go to that, we are having this Sublime editor. Now, so now we are having this Sublime editor over here. By using this Sublime editor also, this is also looking like this. So now this is a Sublime editor where the people can use to build your Lightning components. That facility is available. So we have to integrate this Sublime editor with your Salesforce org. We have to connect. We have to integrate this Sublime editor with your Salesforce R in order to build your application. Few people are using, very few people, hardly 5 to 10% of the people are using this Sublime editor here. Now, the people who are building the applications by using Angular, React.js, Vue.js, okay, the people are using this Sublime editor. So, but when coming to that, our Lightning Web Components, that is almost similar like as your Vue.js. Now, so in this case here, we can use either the Sublime editor or else second one, we can go with the help of VS Code editor. VS Code editor. Visual Studio Code editor. Now, so this is how the Visual Studio Code editor will look like. Almost both are similar. Almost both are similar. So now we can use either VS Code editor, that is also called as Visual Studio Code editor, which has been implemented by Microsoft people, which can be used to build your Salesforce applications, Java applications, backend applications, everything we can install, we can build. It has been built by the Microsoft people, so especially for Salesforce. Now, so in this case, we can use either Visual Studio Code editor also. This is a common editor which can be using by the people in order to build your Salesforce applications. Java applications also we can build by using this editor, and then we can build our backend based applications also. It's a common editor given by the Microsoft people, especially for Salesforce. Prior to this, okay, we're supposed to use Eclipse IDE, okay, Eclipse. But from October 2018 onwards, okay, October 2018 onwards, Salesforce is no more supporting Eclipse IDE because in Eclipse IDE, Salesforce people has found some security issues. They found some security loopholes, some security flaws in Eclipse IDE, so that Salesforce is no more supporting that Eclipse IDE since October 2018. So from there, they have introduced Visual Studio Code Editor by the Microsoft people, especially they have built an editor for Salesforce application development. By using this editor, we can make all the changes, whatever you want, like as well configuration related, customization related, and then we can able to build your Apex classes, triggers, visual force pages, and then batch classes, schedule classes, ARA components, ARA applications, Lightning Web Components, Lightning applications, everything we can build by using this Visual Studio Code editor. So for the normal Salesforce application development also, we can use this Visual Studio Code editor. It's a local development environment. It's a local development environment, which we can install in our local device and we can use it here. But whenever if you want to build your own Lightning Web Components, mandatorily we require any one of these IDE, either Sublime or it may be VS Code editor. And one more thing, okay, I found some information about this, okay, Lightning Web Components. Whenever if you want to use this, okay, VS Code editor, okay, there are some steps are available which we need to configure. But in the real time, we are using this VS Code editor. Okay, in the real time, 90% of the people are using VS Code, and then 10% of the people are using Sublime. But I found some more information about these LWC environments. Like we have a product available in App Exchange, which especially use it to build your own Lightning Web Components. That is called as, okay, LWC Developer Console. For especially for the Lightning Web Component development, okay, we found some editor over here. This is LWC Developer Console. So now this is one of that App Exchange product. Okay, it's an App Exchange product which we have in order to build and to deploy the Lightning Web Components. We can directly without installing any editor. without installing any VS Code or Sublime. Directly, we can able to build even Lightning Web Components inside your organization itself. Now, it's a straightforward. It's a pretty straightforward option. That too, it's a free. That too, it's a free version here. So we can build our own Lightning Web Components also, and then once we are done, we can able to deploy to that organization also directly. That facility is available here. But it's not a more efficient mechanism. It's not that much more efficient way. Now, so in this case here, see, when you observe this one, even though they have introduced this one, okay, in 2020, okay, that means almost 2 years are over as of now, but only 8 people are given that reviews. That means only 8 people are using this. Nothing much. Now, so now here in this case, so they are not going to be giving much updates on this part. Okay, initially they have built an action product, okay, to build that Lightning Web Components by using this action product, okay, LWC developer console. Now, so but this is not the efficient mechanism, okay, which is not a preferred one. Okay, which is not a preferred one. So now whenever if you want to build that Lightning Web Components, we are going to be using, okay, VS Code editor mandatorily, okay, in the real-time environments. And today we'll see how to set up, how to configure the VS Code environment, and how can we configure the dev hubs, how to configure the Scratch organization, okay, inside our VS Code editor. Okay, we'll see practically today, and then we'll see how to create our own Lightning Web Component application, and how can we write, how can we deploy the code to our dev hub, and then how to run that, how to see the result. We'll see with an end-to-end process today. Now, so in this case, here we are having this, okay, an action product. We have an action product that is LWC developer console. LWC developer console. These are the two ways are available. So whenever if you want to use your own Salesforce application development, okay, we can go with that normal developer console or standard navigations we can use. But for these LWC applications, especially, we need this VS Code editor. Without that, we can't create it. There is no such options. Now, so then how to install this, okay, the Visual Studio Code editor, how to connect with our organization. Okay, now let's see practically. Now, generally, what we are going to do in the implementations. For example, let me explain a small process so that you can understand more. Now, so during our development sessions, okay, we have discussed about a feature called as sandboxes. We have discussed about a feature called as sandboxes. So what exactly is sandbox environment? Basically, sandbox is a Salesforce environment where we can develop and we can test and we can do the integration. We can do all the types of testing and we can give a demo to the client also. So in order to develop, in order to test, in order to configure, in order to give the end user training to the people, we need an environment that is called as sandbox. But sandboxes will be available only for the licensed editions. So, but as part of our free developer edition, directly we are writing the code inside the free developer edition because free developer edition is a production environment. It's a production arc that already you know. Free developer edition is purely a production arc where we can write, we can execute, and then we can see the results also. It's a production arc directly. But when you go to the real-time environments, directly we can't work in the production. We have to work on that sandboxes, because upon working on the application development inside the production directly, if something went wrong, then production data will be getting lost. Production functionalities will be getting affected, so that customers will be getting affected. Live production means purely live application. So for that reason, they won't allow you to write that code. They won't allow you to use production arc directly. So we are using sandboxes. Now, in this case here, for example, in the previous session, I showed you the sandbox environments, how the sandbox environments look like. Okay, we have discussed. Now, this is how the sandbox environment will be available. Like we are having this developer sandbox, and then QA, and the UAT, and the stage, and the production. We will be having the various environments will be available as part of this Salesforce application development or the project landscape. So now here in this case, suppose for example, sometimes you can raise a question, sir, I have 3 sandboxes are available, but we have 6 developers are available. We have 6 developers. How? Client has given only 3 sandbox licenses, but we have 6 developers are available in the project, okay, who are working for the same project. That means 2 developers are using one sandbox. 2 more developers are using second sandbox. 2 more developers are using one more sandbox. That means, okay, one sandbox is sharing by multiple people. But in this case, if multiple people are working on the same functionality, on the same class, on the same feature, on the same trigger, on the same visual first page, on the same lighting component, then conflict will be getting arised or not? Yes, conflicts will be getting arised. Then how do you identify, okay, which person's code has been overridden with which person's code? It will be difficult. So in this case, it will be a problem. For that one here, we are going to be using the help of a local repository. We are using the help of a local repository here, so that multiple people can work on their own environments, and then they can able to implement the features, they can test it, and then they can able to deploy into the repository that is also called as a dev hub. So now here in this case, whenever we are building these applications, so we are going to be using some version, centralized version controlling. So in this case, what happened, whatever the code that we have inside this, okay, inside this our sandbox, we can get this local copy, and then we can store into our a disposable environment. We can place inside a disposable environment. Why I'm using this word disposable environment is this environment will not be available lifelong. Okay, this environment will not be available lifelong. You can decide how long time this will be available. Hardly maximum 30 days, not more than that. Maximum 30 days we can able to indicate within that 30 days automatically this will be getting expired. So in this case, what happened? So instead of working on this repository, instead of working on this sandbox directly, then what we can do is we can create our own multiple environments. 3 people are available. For example, 3 developers. Now developer 1, and then developer 2, and then developer 3. So now these 3 people can able to create their own local environments where they can get the data from the repository. They can maintain inside their local environments. They can maintain their own local environments also. Now in this local environment, they can able to implement the features, and they can do the testing also. Once it is done, then they can able to move these features to that repository, so that they can get the latest updates, and whatever the changes they have made, they can commit the changes into that. So in this case, what happened? We need to create a local environment. We need to create a local environment where the people can work on, and then they can able to make some changes, they can build some features, and they can able to deploy to that central repository. So for that reason here, as part of Salesforce has given a feature called as Scratch Arc. That is called as a Scratch Arc. Now, so let me show you that. Let me explain. So now here we are having this centralized version controlling system is available over here. Here's the centralized version controlling system process that we have. So these are the scratch arcs. That means we can create the multiple scratch arcs also over here. This is nothing but a scratch arc. This is a scratch arc. Scratch arc. Now we have to create a scratch arc over here. Basically, what do you mean by scratch arc? Scratch arc is going to be creating a local environment where the developer can able to implement the features, and then once they have implemented, once they have tested, then they can able to migrate those features to that centralized repository. So which is a disposable environment. It will not be a lifetime. It will not be a lifetime. So we can decide how long time that will be available. So we have to create our own local environment. We have to create a local copy, and then once you make any changes, then we are going to implement it. Now, so now here in this case, here let's see. So we have to create our own scratch arc. In this scratch arc, we have to build our own Lightning applications, that means Lightning web components, and we can test it here. Once it is done, then we can able to move to that central repository. Now this central repository is called as a dev hub. It's a dev hub. So dev hub, it's like as a hub, nothing but it's a central repository over here. This is a dev hub. Now this dev hub can be either your sandbox. It can be either your sandbox. It can be your developer edition, or it can be your production. So whatever. Once the code has been getting implemented, once it has been tested perfectly, then we can able to move that code. All the developers code we are going to be moving into that centralized repository that is called as a dev hub. That dev hub can be either your sandbox or a developer edition, or it may be a production also, whatever. Now, so that we are going to be creating scratch arcs also. So now whatever the Salesforce developer edition that we have, that Salesforce developer edition, we are going to be considering as a dev hub, and then we have to enable as a developer hub. So where all the developers code will be getting resides. Like for example, we are working for a project here. Okay, we are working for a project. Assume that in our project, we have 3 people are available. Like myself, okay, and then Ashok, and then we have some Indira. 3 people are available here. So now 3 people are from 3 different locations. For example, Indra is from US, I am from Hyderabad, Ashok is from some Bangalore, some different locations. Now we 3 are the team members here for the project. So Ashok is working on some features, myself is working on some features, Indra is working on some features. Now, suppose if we all 3 are using the same environment, then which class has been modified by whom? How can we track? Suppose today I'm making some changes in the class here. Tomorrow Indira will make some changes here. Then at that time what happened? My code will be, my latest changes will be overriding with Indira's changes. That means my code will be lost. It will be a problem. For that one here, instead of using the same environment, we are creating our own local environments. That means like as a virtual copy. It's like as a virtual copy. It's like as a virtual copy where we can create our own virtual copies. In these virtual copies, we are working on these functionalities. Once we are done with that functionality development, once we have tested in our scratch arc, then we can migrate those features to the dev hub. So for that reason, we are using a disposable environment that is called as scratch arc. So we have to create a scratch arc, and then we have to write the code, we have to test it, and we have to deploy to the dev hub over here. Now, so how to do that here, we'll see, okay, that entire process also today by using this Visual Studio Code Editor. How to create our own scratch arc, and then how to create our own dev hub also Okay, everything we'll see practically one by one. The step-by-step approach I will show you. I have prepared some step-by-step approach over here. How to do that? Okay, we'll see practically now. So now in order to implement these features, okay, we are going to be using the Visual Studio Code Editor. Whenever if you want to install this Visual Studio Code Editor, okay, we have some multiple steps are available. I have given some list of steps and step-by-step navigation also, okay, for your information so that you can follow these steps in order to create that, in order to install. So Visual Studio Code Editor is the IDE, okay, which we are going to be using to build our own Lightning components and Apex classes, Visual First pages, and everything. All the development, entire development, we can make it as a local copy, okay, with the help of this, okay, VS Code Editor. Now, so whenever we are installing this VS Code Editor, first of all, okay, install this, okay, Visual Studio, okay, SFDX CLI, SFDS CLI. So now SFDX in the sense what it says Salesforce Developer Experience. Okay, Salesforce Developer Experience. So now which is going to be providing a collection of features, or it is providing an environment where we can able to build. Okay, we can able to build, and then we can able to write the code, and we can able to deploy to the next environments. It's a command line interface. It's a command line interface. So which we can use, okay, which we can use in order to connect our VS Code editor with the Salesforce environment. Now, so in this case, first of all, we have to install, okay, SFDX CLI. It's a command line interface, okay, which we have to install first. So now where it is available, I have given this complete link also here. Okay, first of all, we have to copy this link, go to the browser, specify this link over here. Or else we can able to verify that inside the Google also we can check. Okay, you can go to the Google, we can check it out. Okay, SFDX CLI. So first of all, the first link here. Okay, we'll be getting that. Okay, installing that Visual Studio, the CSFDS CLI. Okay, this is the link. So the first link here, we can use any one of that. I have given that link also in our documentation. So directly we can use that link and then we can install this. We are having the developer.salesforce.com/tools.sfdxcli. So depends upon the operating system which you are using in our local device, we can install that associated, okay, CLI. Okay, for Mac, we have a separate. And then here x84 means it's a 64-bit operating system. x86 means it's a 32-bit operating system. So depends upon the operating system which you are using. It may be 32-bit or 64-bit. So now we have to select that respective, okay, version of the tool and then we can install. So now here we have to use either Mac or Windows or Linux. Okay, it may be Linux or it may be Ubuntu, whatever. Ubuntu is a client tool to connect to the Linux and Unix systems. Now, so it's a command line interface where we can able to execute that commands in order to work with our Salesforce app. So we have to install the CLI first. So now, for example, if I'm selecting Windows, now select Windows and then we can select the download for, okay, Windows x64. Like as it depends upon our operating systems, okay, bit, like as it may be 32-bit or 64-bit here, we can specify that. As soon as once you click on this, okay, link, it will be installing, downloading this particular CLI into your local system, and we have to install it. Now, next one, this is the first step, okay, which we used to follow, okay, in order to install the Visual Studio Code Editor. So once you are done with that installing this, okay, Salesforce command line interface, okay, which is used to connect your Salesforce organization through some commands, to interact with your Salesforce org through some commands like as creating, okay, creating the Apex classes, Visual Force pages, everything we can do. Now, so once you are done with this installation of the CLI, as a step 2, we need to check it out whether the CLI has been installed properly or not. To check whether the CLI is installed properly or not, just you can go to your command prompt. Go to that command prompt, verify whether that CLI has been installed properly or not. Just you can type some SFDX, Press enter. Now it is showing some commands. Okay, it is showing some commands and versions and everything. That means if it is showing these commands means what? That means it has been installed successfully. Or else, if it is not installed properly, it will be indicating, okay, SFDS is not recognized as a proper command. It will show the error message. Now, if you want to check that version number of this, okay, SFDX CLI, simply we can specify SFDX-V. Now we can able to see the version. So it's a command line interface version 7.133.0. So now it is indicating that. Now we can able to verify. So we can type either simply SFDX or SFDX-1 or -V. So if it is showing some information, that means SFDX has been installed successfully. That means your command line interface CLI has been installed successfully. This is the principle to check whether it has been installed perfectly or not. Now, so once the CLI has been installed, then as a step 2, then we have to install a Visual Studio Code Editor. Okay, Visual Studio Code Editor. So how to install this Visual Studio Code Editor over here? Now in this case, so now just you can go to the Google and we can able to search for, okay, VS Code for Salesforce. So now here it is indicating VS Code. Now it is indicating the first link. Whenever we are indicating this, okay, whenever we are just, you are typing this VS Code, the first link which has been visible to you in that Google search screen, that is nothing but Visual Studio Code Editor. So we have to install this Visual Studio Code Editor. This is the second step. Now here also we have to select, okay, what is that operating system? Are you using Mac or Windows or Linux? Okay, Mac or Windows or Linux. So now here we can able to specify that. So depends upon the operating system, okay, which you have inside your device. Choose that associated, okay, flavor of Visual Studio Code Editor. It may be for Windows or Mac or Linux. So depends upon your requirement here. Okay, we can able to download and then we can install. We have to install that Visual Studio Code Editor. This is the second step. Now, so now how can we verify whether the Visual Studio Code Editor has been installed properly or not? Just you can go to this, okay. You can open the Visual Studio Code Editor. Okay, Visual Studio Code Editor also we can able to open inside this. This is how your Visual Studio Code Editor will be getting visible to you. This is how your Visual Studio Code Editor will be getting visible to you. Now, so in this case here, I have given this navigation. So once the Visual Studio Code Editor has been getting installed, or else here directly you can use this link to install it. And then once the Visual Studio Code Editor has been getting installed inside this, install the Salesforce extension pack. Because what? So once the editor is available, and then I would like to create some classes. I would like to create some Visual Force pages, Lightning components, Lightning applications. In this case, to connect with your Salesforce arc, we are installing Salesforce extension pack. So for that one, go to that extensions. Here we are having this. Go to this editor. This is the editor. Here we are having the option called as extensions. Click on this extensions. Now here we can search for the option, okay, extensions. Salesforce extension pack. Salesforce extension pack. Now, Salesforce extension pack. See, this is the Salesforce extension pack here. Already I have installed this Salesforce extension pack inside my, okay, VS Code editor over here. That's what it is showing, that only uninstall. So now generally, if you are not installing, it is the first time that you are installing, just you can able to, you will be getting an option called as install, and then we can able to, it will be installing this extension pack inside your local organization. That means inside your VS Code editor. So now basically this extension pack is used to connect with your Salesforce organization through SFDX. Through that command line interface, we can connect to that Salesforce org, and then we can create all those classes and everything by using command line interface. Now, so this is the second step. So sorry, the second step. And then, so once we have installed the Salesforce extension pack, I would like to check it out. So whether this Salesforce extension pack has been installed properly or not. Then how can we check? Just we can go to that, okay, command palette. Where is the command palette? Here we are having this. Now, for example, so when you go to this Salesforce VS Code editor, we can go to this editor, and here at the bottom, okay, left corner, we have a small option. A gear icon is available. A small gear icon is available. Just you can click on this gear icon. Here you will be having an option called as command palette. You'll be having a command palette option. Or else we can use a shortcut that is Control Shift P. Okay, we can use Control Shift P. So now we are using this Control Shift P. Here it is indicating this. Now this is the command palette which we have. Now in this case here, let's see. We will be getting this Command Shift P, Control Shift P for our normal Windows operating system. Control Shift P. Now here we will be having this SFDX. Whenever I'm typing SFDX, if it is providing all these options are not. Okay, SFDX, creating Apex class, okay, creating the project, and all the options will be available to you. You will be getting all these options also. Upon typing this SFDX, okay, you can able to get all these options also. So now it is providing the options are not. If the options are provided, that means what? SFDX, that means your CLI has been installed perfectly over here. The command line interface is okay installed, and then it is working properly. This is the second step over here. Now, so that we have to install that okay Visual Studio Code Editor, and then we can able to verify install this extension pack, Salesforce extension pack, and then we can able to test it whether it has been installed or not. I have given the complete navigation step-by-step approach to you here. So that open the VS Code Editor, go to the command palette. I have given both the options also to you. So just you can go to the gear icon from the bottom and then click on command palette. In the text box here, type SFDX colon. Then it will be populating all the options also over here. Now, so once all the options are available here, from there now, okay, I would like to create a project. So now create a project in Visual Studio Code Editor. How to create a project? Okay, now let me show you practically. Now, for example, I would like to connect an organization. Which organization I would like to connect? Now let me show you first. For example, okay, this is the organization. Okay, I would like to use training that account 345. Training that account 345@cas.com. Okay, this is my Salesforce arc. Okay, which I would like to interact. Now let's see. So now the image has been changed. That means on 12th, Salesforce has given a new release, that is Spring 22. Right now we are using Spring 22 release given by Salesforce. Spring 22 release. So the image has been changed. Now, so now in this case here, I haven't created any lightning components as of now. Let me check first. If you want to check, do we have any lightning components, then you can search for the option like lightning components. Do we have any? Okay, we have few lightning application, lightning components are available, which we have created previously. Okay, now we'll see that one. Okay, let me make it available as it is here. These are ARA components here. Type of the component is ARA components. Now I would like to use this organization. Okay, I would like to use this organization, okay, in order to interact with my Salesforce arc, in order to interact with my VS Code editor. So now in this case here, so now from now onwards, I would like to create the Lightning Web Component applications inside my dev hub. That means I would like to use this developer organization as a dev hub. So now that means this will be the dev hub for me here. So now I would like to create a project, and then from there I need to create, I would like to enable it as a dev hub, and then I need to create that Scratch apps also. From there I would like to implement that code. Now, let's see. Next one here, create a project here. So now as a step 3, create a project inside your Visual Studio Code editor. And then to create a project, go to that command palette by using Control Shift P, or else we can go to the gear icon. From there also we can select that command palette. And then type for that option SFDX. Now create project with manifest. So I would like to create a project here. Now select the default location in order to create the project, and then it will ask you to give the name for the project name, and then we can specify, and then you can specify the location where exactly it will be getting the sites, so that we can able to specify. Now, and then we have to authorize. Once we are done, we are going to be authorizing that VS Code editor, okay, with your Salesforce app. Now let's see. Let me create a project here. As a step 3, I'm creating a project. Go to the command palette. Now I would like to create a project here. SFDX, create project with manifest. Now, SFDX, now create project with manifest. Now what kind of project that you want here? I want an empty project here. Okay, I want an empty project or a standard project here template. Okay, now the default one. So now the standard project I would like to create here. Now give the project name. Okay, now give the project. I'm indicating the project name as okay LWC. Okay, LWC 101. Okay, LWC 101 batch. LWC batch 101. Specify the project name and then press enter. Now it will ask you to select the location where exactly you want me to create. Now specify that location. I'm going to be indicating this location over here. Inside this, I would like to specify a new folder, LWC project or LWC documents, whatever, anything. Now, so now I would like to use this project here. Inside that, I would like to create a project. So now it is going to be, it has created a project over here with the name LWC batch okay 101. So now this is a project which has been created by the Visual Studio Code editor. Now, here we are having this a terminal window. Here in this output window, we are having the problems. If there is any issues, we can able to cross check over here. Now this is the output. So here it is indicating that okay, project definition has been created over here, ended with exit code zero. Now, so in this case, we have created the project. This is the project creation. Now, in this case, as soon as whenever the new project has been getting created, we can see a manifest file over here. Here we can able to see this manifest file. This is the manifest file. So now this manifest file contains a package.xml file which will be indicating what are all the various components that we can able to fetch and we can able to deploy to our organization. So it is indicating all the Apex classes, Apex components also, Apex pages also, that means Visual Force pages and Visual Force components, test classes, riggers, and then RA definition bundle, Lightning component bundle. Lightning component bundle means LWC. And the static resources, all these things we can able to fetch and we can deploy to that your organization. So here we can able to verify that. Now, so a package.xml will be getting created under this manifest folder, which indicates what are the various components that we can able to fetch from your organization to this editor, and then from here editor to your Salesforce organization, which we can able to deploy. Now, next one. So once we are done, then we have to authorize your Salesforce organization. That means a dev hub. Dev hub. So in this case here, how can we do that? Now, so now authorize your Salesforce, okay, dev hub organization. Now in this case, that means we need to create a dev hub. So whatever the Salesforce organization, that means the 345 that we have, I want to make it as okay, a dev hub where I would like to place all my Lightning web components, everything inside that. Okay, from there I would like to create. Okay, from there I would like to create a Scratch organization as well. So now let's see in this case. So now we have to enable a dev hub. How to create this a dev hub? Now let's see. Let's go to the VS Code editor. Now we have to authorize. Go to the command palette. Now we have an option called as okay, authorize a dev hub. Okay, authorize a dev hub option. So now in this case here, suppose for example, if you are working for a normal Salesforce development, like as only Apex, Visual Force pages, at that time simply we can go with that authorize an organization. That is sufficient. We no need to create any dev hubs. We no need to create any Scratch organizations. Nothing. If you're developing only for the normal Salesforce development, not Lightning web components, so at that time, simply we can use an option authorize an organization. So whatever the code you are writing here directly, that will be storing inside your okay, like inside your organization itself. But now I would like to create a dev hub. That means like as I'm making my Salesforce account as a central repository, from that central repository, I will create one virtual environment here. Here in this virtual environment, I would like to start working on that. And then whatever the code I'm implementing, that will be available in my virtual environment for 30 days. And from there, once we have tested, I will move to that my organization. Till that time, that will be available inside my virtual organization, virtual environment. Okay, see, that is the difference between DevHub and the Scratch arc. Now, if I'm using a normal, okay, authorize an arc, directly it will ask you to enter your Salesforce account credentials. From there, we can create Apex classes, Visual Force pages, everything. But LWC components you can't build. So now I would like to create a dev hub. So for that one, I've given the complete steps to you. Authorize your Salesforce okay, dev hub organization. Now let's go to that command palette. Now we have to specify authorize a dev hub. Now it is asking you to specify which is Salesforce account you want me to use as a dev hub. Now this is the organization here. Now training.account345@cas.com. Now click on this. Now it is asking you to, okay, now that Visual Studio Code Editor is going to be asking you to interact with your Salesforce account. You want to allow this editor to connect with you, to push some data, to pull some data from you. If yes, then click on allow button or else click on deny. So now here it is requesting the VS Code editor. That means the CLI is going to be requesting, that means command line interface is requesting to that Salesforce organization. So I want to connect with you so that I can develop some features inside my editor and I want to push into your organization, or sometimes I want to pull some data from your organization to my local here. So will you allow me or not? So click on allow. As soon as once you click on this allow, it is going to be allowing this Salesforce CLI to enter into your organization. Now this is your organization. So this is the dev hub. So now we have to enable that as a dev hub here. How to interact with this dev hub? Just to go to the setup menu, enable it as a dev hub. So now we have an option called as okay, dev hub. Dev hub. Now dev hub option. Go to the dev hub, enable it here. You will be having some toggle buttons are available. We have to make it enable. That means I'm making this particular organization as the central repository. So we have this option called as a dev hub. As soon as here, now it is indicating enable dev hub to for what? Create and manage Scratch organizations from the command line and view information about your Scratch organizations, link okay, namespace organizations. So now that means what? Instead of writing the code directly inside this, okay, through that editor, I would like to write the code and then I would like to okay, push that code into the dev hub. I want to make this Salesforce account as a central repository. That means this is, I would like to make it as a central repository. Now, training dot account 345 at the rate cis.com. So this is my dev hub. Okay, so all the developers code will be available inside this particular dev hub right now. Now I would like to make it as a dev hub. How to make it as a dev hub? Enable this one. So here we are having the toggle button, enable this toggle button. Right now this is in disabled state. So now we have to enable. We have to enable this. Just you can click on it. Now we have enabled. Now we have enabled. Once it is enabled, then we can't disable it again. Okay, that is one thing. Please remember. Once you have enabled, then we can't disable it again. Now enable. Okay, source tracking also. And then we can enable the package generations as well. Okay, all these options. Instant features are not required for me. Just we can enable these three toggle buttons. Now, so we have enabled. As soon as whenever we are enabling this dev hub, then inside this Salesforce organization, okay, 2 additional objects will be created by Salesforce. Salesforce will create 2 additional objects. Let me tell you what are those 2 additional objects here. Okay, let me explain. When you go to the lightning experience, we can search that. What are those 2 objects? Go to the setup menu and then we can search for that objects here. Related to the Scratch organization, it is preparing 2 objects to you. Now, object manager, here we can search. So now active Scratch organization. That means here, observe this one. This is the dev hub. That means this is a central repository. For this central repository, how many Scratch organization? That means how many virtual environments are available? How many people are going to connect? That will be purely depends upon the edition which you are using. Suppose if you are developer hub, that means dev hub is a production. That means it may be a developer environment here, or enterprise edition, or it may be unlimited edition. Depends upon this edition, the number of Scratch organizations will be getting decided by Salesforce. Now, let me give you that information here. Now, Scratch organization limits. Now, so now in this case here, Scratch organization limitations. Let me check. Now let's see. Scratch organizations and the limitations. Now see, go to that supported Scratch organization editions and the allocations. So in this case, supported Scratch organizations, here we can see. Now it is indicating that depends upon the edition, number of Scratch organizations are different. So in this case, what happened for the developer edition or the trial, it is allowing the 3 active Scratch organizations, and then daily Scratch organization allocation is 6. That means what here? Every day we can create 6. That means that will be available for only for 1 day. Now only for 1 day here. That means upon creating a Scratch organization, that means upon creating a virtual environment, how long time that virtual environment will be getting available? That maximum time will be 30 days. So that maximum time period will be 30 days. We can give 1 day also, 2 days also, 3 days also, 4 days also, whatever, anything. Why? Because why we are creating these kind of environments is, suppose in my free developer edition already I am having some code. So that already I have explained. So Indira is working on one feature, myself is working on one feature, and then for example some Ashok is working on one feature. So because our new code, existing functionality should not be affected. Existing code should not be getting affected. That's what here, okay, that's what here we are creating our own environments here. So that in our environment, we can able to work on our own features here. Once it is done, then we can able to push into the dev hub. For that reason here, if it is a free developer edition, we can have 3 Scratch organizations active, and then daily we can create 6 organizations. For enterprise editions, 40, and then daily Scratch organization allocations are 80. For unlimited edition, 100 and 200. For performance edition, okay, that is 100 and 200. But right now, basically, performance edition is no more right now. Okay, that is already deactivated by Salesforce over here. Okay, previously we have performance edition, but it is no more available now. So for our developer edition, we are having, okay, active scratch organizations will be 3, daily scratch organizations will be 6. Okay, this is how. These are the limitations are available. We should be aware of now. So in this case here, what happens? In order to store inside your dev hub, okay, how many scratch organizations you have created? How many scratch organizations you have created? I would like to know. For that one, to store this data, it is creating these 2 objects inside your organization. One is active scratch organization. That means what active scratch organizations are available, and to get that organization's information, we are having scratch org info. These are the 2 tables will be creating the Salesforce dynamically at runtime. Whenever you are enabling your organization as a dev hub, then immediately Salesforce is creating these 2 objects over there. Salesforce is creating these 2 objects. Now, let's go to that. Here we can verify active scratch organizations. So now this is one object here which is creating the Salesforce, which will be holding, okay, all the details about your organization, scratch organizations which are currently inactive. Okay. Now, next one here, we have one more object here. Scratch organization information. Okay. Scratch org info. So what are the various scratch organizations are available? I want to check. Okay, what are the various scratch organizations that we have? Everything we can able to query. We can see those details by using this object, which is scratch organization info object. These are the 2 objects are available. Okay, where exactly it is storing your scratch organization details and the active scratch organizations also. So now here we have enabled the dev hub, nothing but we are having our central repository right now. Now from his central repository, I need to create a scratch org. That means whatever the code that we have inside this central repository, I want to get that complete code into my local copy over here. Then how to, so that I can work on these features here. Now, so in this case, how to create a scratch organization? Now let's see. Here's the 5th step. Set up your scratch organization. Now, so here we can specify that. Okay, can go to the command palette and then use this command. Okay, use this command. So now SFDX create a default scratch organization. Go to that Visual Studio Code editor. So now here we can go to the command palette. Here we are having this option. Okay, create a default scratch organization. So now give that scratch organization name. Okay, now definition file here. So now which file you would like to use? What is the location here? Here is the location. Select this one. Specify the scratch organization name over here. Now I'm indicating, okay, LWC scratch 101. Okay, LWC, okay, scratch 101. Okay, scratch organization 101. Now press enter. So how long time it will be available? Whatever the virtual environment that we are going to create, how long time this environment will be available, so that we can decide how many days it will be available. So we have to select that number of days here. It will be between 1 to 30 days, not more than that. Now I want to give it as 30 here. Okay, within 30 days it will be getting expired, and then from there we can create one more. Now press the T and then press enter. Now here it is going to running that command here. At the bottom here where we can see it is running a command over here in order to create our own scratch organization. It will take some time to create our own scratch organization. So from there we can able to implement our code and everything. We can able to see it over here. It's a local environment here. So we can pull the data from your Salesforce R and we can maintain a local copy here. From there, from here itself, we can able to work on this. Now it is indicating SFDX create a default scratch organization successfully run. Okay, now it has created that successfully. So now here we can able to see that. So now let's go to that. Now it is indicating scratch organization will be getting created here. Now how can we open that scratch organization? Okay, now let's see. So in order to open that scratch organization, that we can able to go to that command palette and then SFDS open default scratch organization. It will be opening your organization at the browser. How to open that here? Once a scratch organization has been getting created. Now let's see. So now Control Shift P and then open scratch organization. That means open a default organization. That means default scratch. Now click on open default organization. Now it is opening that scratch organizations inside the browser. This is the local environment here which has been created by Salesforce. Now this is the local environment which has been created by Salesforce. Now let's see. It is going to be indicating this is a scratch organization here. Now here we can able to see that this is the scratch organization URL. That means here it is going to be enabling the domain also by default. Because if you want to run any lightning component or LWC, then my domain should be mandatory. We have to enable the domain. The domain will be enabling by the Salesforce for you automatically here. So now from now onwards, what needs to be done? Whatever the projects or whatever the classes that you have created inside this editor, all these things will be available inside your Scratch organization. From there, we have to deploy to your Dev Hub. Okay, that means what from now onwards we are working with this our working copy, local copy. That means with our Scratch organization. Clear? These are the steps are available over here inside this. These are the steps are available. Now, so we can go to that editor here. Now we can able to see the force app and then ARA components, okay, LWC, objects, and then permission sets, and then classes. Okay, whatever you want, we can able to implement that. Everything we can able to see. Now, so in this case, if you want to pull some data from there, now I would like to get that. The SFDX. Now, so now we can create our own Apex classes also, Lightning classes, Lightning components also, everything we can able to collect that information here. Whatever the components that you want, everything we can able to do that. Now, so here whatever the data that we have, push a source to default Scratch organizations and everything will be options are available to you over here. Now, so in my Scratch organization, we are having so much data is available. Okay, in my Scratch organization, if you're having any data here, then we can able to fetch it. For example, let's go to your Scratch organization, and then if you're having any classes, now Apex classes. If you're having any Apex classes, then we can able to put fetch. But as of now, we don't have any classes are available over here, so that here we can able to get that classes from our Dev Hub, and then we can able to push into that as well here. That facility will be available to you. So these are the 5 steps that we have to do. Okay, in order to install your VS Code, and then in order to create your own Scratch org and the Dev Hubs, and then to connect with that Dev Hub. Okay, these are the 5 simple steps that are available. So now we are ready with our setup in order to create our Lightning Web Components. Then how can we create our own first Lightning Web Component, and how can we implement, and how can we see what features are available, what files will be generating by the Lightning Web Component, and what are the component bundles that we have. Okay, we'll see that. So now here in this case, when coming to the Lightning Web Components, if you want to create our own Lightning components, then we are using the help of this VS Code editor. Go to the command palette and then use that option, create a Lightning Web Component. Then it is asking you to specify the Lightning Web Component name, specify the Lightning Web Component name, and then select the default location where exactly you would like to store. It is populating the default location and select that one. When you hit enter, it is going to be creating the Lightning Web Component. But whenever we are giving that Lightning Web Component name, okay, it's a best practice, and that too, okay, it's a mandatory principle given by Salesforce. Lightning Web Component name should be starting with a camel case. That means starting with a small letter. That is a principle given by, okay, Salesforce as part of Lightning Web Components. Every Lightning Web Component name should be starts with, okay, a small letter. Let's see how to create a Lightning Web Component. Now, let's see. Go to that command palette. Use this option SFDX, create Lightning Web Component. You will be having this option here, create Lightning Web Component. Now here I'm going to be indicating this, okay, Lightning Web Component name. So now here I'm going to be indicating, okay, first LWC component. I'm indicating the name as first LWC, first LWC component. Press enter. Now it is asking you to select the default location, choose the default directory itself where exactly you would like to store. Now it is creating the Lightning Web Component here. So now here we can see in the left panel, we can able to see the component bundle. So now this is the component bundle here. As part of LWC, here we can see this is the Lightning Web Component name which we have given over here. Whenever we are going to be creating a Lightning Web Component, by default it is providing that, okay, 3 files over there. Okay, 3 files. Now, in this case, let's see. Now, Lightning Web Component bundle. Okay. Now, whenever we are going to be using this, okay, whenever we are creating the Lightning Web Component, suppose for example, if I'm giving this Lightning Web Component name like as some hello world, then it is going to be creating 3 files to you by default. Hello world.html, which is having that markup code, which is used to design the visual appearance. Second one, hello world.js, so which will be having a JavaScript file, which is having that client-side controller. And then it is having a metadata XML file also, okay, which will be having a metadata XML file also, which will be indicating what components needs to be get migrated. And here in sometimes you can raise a question, sir, do we have any possibility to add, okay, some more files like a style file? Yes, here we can able to add 2 more files also. The fourth one, here we can able to create a style file like as hello world dot, okay, CSS. We have to create. And then fifth one, hello world dot SVG for icons. Okay, for icons. So whatever the icons given by the Lightning design system, if those are not sufficient, if you want to create your own icons, then we can able to use this file. Okay. Now this is also we have to create this file. These are the 5 files will be available in this Lightning Web Component bundle. But when you go to that normal ARA components, we are having component file is available like as HTML, and we have client-side controller, helper is available, documentation, and SVG, and design, and CSS. Okay, like that, so many files will be available over there. But here we are reducing that part. We are reducing that complexity. Now, in this case, whenever why Salesforce is giving only these three files to you, why not the remaining two? Because if it is required, then only we can design, or else don't design. Why? Because okay, if you are defining this CSS file, then compulsorily we have to provide at least one style. Without writing any style, this CSS file we can't create. It won't allow. Now, like the similar way, if you're adding this file .svg, then compulsorily we have to define at least one icon. If you're not defining any icon, then don't add this file. It will be putting some unnecessary burden. Now, so that's what here Salesforce is not providing these two files to you. So if you're adding this at .css, now nothing but style sheet and if I'm adding any styles, if I'm adding any styles or if I'm adding any icons, then only we can able to add these two files, or else we can't add these two files. This is mandatory. So that's what here Salesforce is not providing these two files to you. So now by default it is providing three files: .html file, and which is having markup code, .js, it's a client-side controller, and then we are having this metadata XML file. Now, and then additionally we can able to add our own files also. Let's see how to add that file. Suppose if you want to add, these are the three files are available: LWC component.html, and then this is the HTML file which we can see, which will be having the template tag that already we know that. So now when coming to the Lightning Web Component, every Lightning Web Component file should be starts with the template tag. It should start and end with the template tag. And then we are having this a JavaScript file. This is a JavaScript file for the client-side controller. And then we are having this metadata XML file here, which will be indicating okay, where this file has to be get accessible. Okay, where this file has to be get accessible over here. Now to indicate the targets, okay, to indicate the targets, we are going to be using this, okay, metadata XML file. Like for example, let me give you some sample example here. For example, if I'm creating a normal Lightning Web Component, assume that's the normal Lightning component over here. Let's see, in this case, it's a normal organization. Let me go to the developer console. Now, for example, if you want to create a Lightning application or Lightning component, then we can specify new Lightning component. Whenever I'm giving that Lightning component name, it is indicating where you want to use this Lightning component. You want to use this Lightning component in the tab or a Lightning record, Lightning page, that means home page, Lightning record page, and then experience builder site page or Lightning quick action, where you want to use. To indicate all these options, we are using this metadata XML file. Okay, metadata XML file. Here we can able to specify. How to specify that? Okay, now let me show you. So now here we have to indicate is exposed equals to true. That means I want to make this, okay, Lightning application can be accessible. So that we have to use a property called as a targets tag. Targets. Inside this, we can specify the target. Okay, target. Where you want to use, I want to use this one. Whatever the Lightning component that I'm creating right now, this can be accessible in, okay, app page, application page. Second one, target. We can specify in home page also I want to access it. Target. We can specify in the Lightning record page also, so that we have to indicate, okay, what are the various places where this component can be accessible. So we can able to specify that. So in order to indicate, okay, so now this Lightning component, the first LWC component, I would like to make it visible in app page also, home page also, record page also. I want to make it visible. That's what here I'm indicating the targets. Specify the targets tab. Inside the targets tag, we can specify the various targets, various options, various places where we can able to use this with a Lightning Web component. So this Lightning Web Component can be get placed or accessible, okay, inside these places here. In the app page also, Lightning home page also, record page also, everything. Now, next one, let me save this. I'm saving this one. Whenever I'm saving this one, automatically this code will be pushing to that, okay, your Scratch organization by default. It is pushing that code. In the Scratch organization, we can able to see that. We no need to, we can push it manually. If you want to push, we can push manually also. For that one here, we can able to use that command palette. Now here we can able to specify. Now push the source to, okay, default Scratch organization. Okay, there is an option called push the source to default Scratch organization, so that whatever the code that have written inside this particular editor, Visual Studio Code editor, please push this entire code into my Scratch organizations. Now, so we can use this one, or else you can able to click on Control S. Whenever I'm saving this file, automatically it will push automatically by default. Now, let's see in this case. Let's go to my HTML file. Here I would like to write some content over here. I would like to show you how to run this application. Now, I'm indicating some message here so that we can specify. I'm using this some H1. Now I would like to show some bold tag here. I'm indicating welcome to Lightning Web Components. Lightning Web Components. And then I'm giving this two break tags. And here I would like to indicate that H1. Now, this is my first Lightning Web Component. This is my first Lightning Web Component. Now, we can able to write this code. Click on Save, Control S. Now it is going to pushing this entire code to your Scratch application. Okay, Scratch application. So now my Lightning component has been created successfully. So in this case here, so once the Scratch organization is ready, and then once the code has been pushed, I want to run this Lightning component. If you want to run this Lightning component, then we can able to paste directly on the record home page, or else we can able to use a Lightning application also. Depends upon your need. If you want to run this one inside a separate browser, so that we can able to create a Lightning application. So now here in this case, let's see. I want to create a Lightning application now. So this is my component here. Now close this one. Now create a Lightning application. Control Shift P. Create an application. Create ARA app. Give that ARA application. I'm indicating this application name as. So now Lightning Web Component Test App. I'm indicating. Press Enter. Select the default location. Now it is creating this application. Our application here we can able to call that component. Same process, no change. What is my LWC component name over here? First LWC component. So now here we can specify first LWC component. That's it. Now we can able to save it. Now, so now I have created the application. Inside this application, I'm accessing this component also. Okay, C colon first LWC component. Now let me show you here. Let's go to your Scratch organization because this code has been pushed into Scratch organization. Let's go to your Scratch org. So this is my Scratch org which has been created by Salesforce. Let's see. Okay, enterprise moments. Now go to that Lightning components. Lightning components. Search for the option Lightning components. Now here we can see. Now my first LWC component is available, which is a LWC, and then second one is test app. This is the application is also available. Both are available. Now I want to run this. So whenever we are running this application, okay, we can able to see that. Let me go to the developer console here. From here, I'm going to the developer console. From Scratch organization, because my code is available in Scratch org. not inside my dev hub. Now open that Lightning resource, select this application, select that XML file, open it. Now this is the code which I have written. Click on preview. Now we can see that result here. Now it is indicating welcome to Lightning Web Components, and this is my first Lightning Web Component. So we can able to see that result also. This is one way, and that too here you can raise a question. Sir, already I made this application to be accessible from home page also. Okay, record page also. So then what we can do, just you can go to your any of your application, the scratch app. I'm going to the sales application. Now, so this is the record home page. This is the application home page. Now here I want to show, before this assistant, I want to show that Lightning component. Okay, then without running by using update preview, directly I would like to place it over here. Just you can click on setup menu, click on edit page. Whatever the Lightning component that we have prepared, that will be visible in the Lightning app builder. This is the Lightning app builder component over here. Here we are having standard components are available, 29 components are available. When you come down, we are having custom. This is the Lightning component which I have built. I want to place this Lightning component on my application homepage. Just I would like to place it over here. I'm placing it over here. Place that Lightning component over here which you have prepared. Now click on save. Now click on activate. That's it. Done. So now I would like to make it applicable for the default organization, assign to applications also, assign to sales application, default organization, assign to organization default. Okay, right. Now, for which profile users you want to make it visible here, activation is happened. Now click on save. Let's go to your application now, sales application. Here we can see that. See, my application is, my component is getting visible. Here I can able to see this component. So we can run that application to see inside the browser also. We can see inside your Lightning application homepage also. This is how we are going to building Lightning web components. Okay, as part of your Salesforce implementations. Now, here we have given that step-by-step approach. Write the code inside that, create an ARA application, and then push that code to that Salesforce R, that means Scratch R, and testing that code here. Go to that Scratch R here, and from there we can able to test it. Okay, this is the code. The complete step-by-step approach I have given over here. This is how we are going to be creating the Lightning web components, okay, inside your Salesforce instance by using VS Code Editor. But these are available where right now, whatever the code that I have implemented right now, this is available in my Scratch app. That means virtual copy, not in my developer edition. See, when you go to my developer edition right now, go to the developer edition. Okay, this is the developer edition that we have. So when you go to this Lightning components, I can't see them. See, that is not available. Only my ARA applications are available. That's it here. I don't have those. Okay, LWC application is not available because those are built inside my Scratch R. Those are built inside my Scratch R. These will be available for 30 days. Now from here we have to deploy to that central repository. How to deploy this one to the central repository? Okay, that we'll see in the next session because that is not yet required here. Okay, I will show you. Here I have given the steps also here to deploy. Okay, here I have given the steps also to deploy that. But this is not required. Once all the applications, all the components has been built, then we can able to move all these components to the folder. From there, we'll see deploy. Okay, in one shot we can do all the things. Clear, guys? The step-by-step approach, I have given the complete steps to you. Please follow these steps to install your own Visual Studio Code editor, and then we can able to create your own Scratch organization, and then maintain your developer edition as a dev hub, and then we can write the code. Go to the Scratch org, and then once all the components has been getting built, all the features are implemented and tested in the Scratch org, then we can able to deploy this code to the dev hub, that means to the central repository. So this is the mandatory setup and environment that we need to have before going to the Lightning components. These are the mandatory principles. Okay, but the steps are a bit lengthy here, because so without installing this editor, without having all this setup, we can't implement even a single Lightning Web component. That is the problem. Okay, this is the real-time process which we used to follow. Don't write any code inside your developer edition directly, because we are maintaining our own central repository. We can write it, we can test it once it is available, and then we can go to that, we can move that code to that dev hub, that means central repository. From there, the people can have the testing process. From there, they can able to migrate here. This is how we are going to be using that Visual Studio Code editor, and then we are creating the dev hubs and then Scratch orgs. Clear? Now, so do the practice on this one. Maintain this setup over here. Now, so in the next session, we'll see how to implement our own Lightning Web components, and then how to write some JavaScript code also, and then how to write some Apex classes also. Everything we'll see one by one here. Lightning elements also, like as Lightning input, Lightning buttons, everything we'll see practically one by one. And then Lightning data services, and the Lightning events, everything, how to use that events implementation, everything we'll see one by one. Okay, this is the mandatory setup here. Forget about this deployment setup here. I will show you in the next session. I have given the steps also for you here, but that is not yet required. Once all the features have been implemented, then we can deploy to that our developer environment. Okay, now, because whatever the Scratch organization that we have created, that will be available for 30 days. Don't give like as 1 day, 2 days, give it like a 30 days, because we are going to be using for that. So in these 30 days, whatever the features we have implemented, that will be storing inside the Scratch org. From there, we can deploy to that our dev hub. Okay, so once the Scratch organization has been getting expired after 30 days, then we will create one more. No issues. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time. Let's meet on Saturday.
Hello, sir. It is mandatory